In 1998, an elite group of Ivy League professors lost $4.6 billion in months. They nearly destroyed the entire global financial system despite holding the prestigious Swedish prize in economics. So how did the smartest academic minds in the world vaporize that much wealth with such staggering efficiency? This documentary is for the educational analysis of historical and psychological trends, not direct investment advice. We are going to reverse engineer their fatal psychological flaw to reveal exactly what universities hide from you. But to understand their modern collapse, we must first examine an earlier financial catastrophe from 1720. The man who formulated the laws of gravity lost 20,000 pounds during the infamous South Sea bubble hype. That sum translates to millions of pounds today, evaporating from the pockets of a supreme mathematical genius. He famously declared that he could calculate the precise motions of heavenly bodies but not the madness of people. This historical trend suggests a terrifying truth about the rigid economic theory taught in traditional education. Academic intelligence completely fails when raw human emotion and market panic inevitably take over the equation. Universities train you to calculate data, but they deliberately ignore the dark reality of financial psychology. Emotional discipline dictates wealth accumulation far more than academic intelligence quotient or university grades. Which brings us to the first wealth mechanism excluded from the curriculum, known as the high earner not rich yet trap. Public records show that over 50% of people earning six figures still live from paycheck to paycheck. These individuals played by the exact academic rules, obtained their expensive degrees, and work 50 hours a week. Yet they watch people with far less formal education build sustainable wealth while they remain financially trapped. The psychological data indicates this happens because universities train workers exclusively to increase their income. They do not teach students how to purchase appreciating assets, creating a devastating cycle called Parkinson's Law. Parkinson's Law of wealth dictates that your lifestyle expenses will automatically expand to match your rising income. Every promotion or salary increase simply buys a slightly more expensive cage of highly predictable consumer habits. This explains why acquiring a higher-paying postgraduate degree often just leads to a more expensive lifestyle trap. You are mathematically programmed to consume your excess capital rather than deploying it to build financial sovereignty. The second missing mechanism completely shatters the academic definition of financial liabilities and borrowing power. The traditional academic system preaches that all debt is a dangerous liability that must be paid off immediately. But historical trends suggest the ultra-wealthy operate under a completely different set of psychological leverage rules. They utilize a controversial strategy colloquially known in financial circles as the buy, borrow, and die mechanism. Instead of selling their appreciating assets and paying massive capital gains taxes, they borrow heavily against them. These margin loans fund their opulent lifestyles completely tax-free while their base portfolio continues to compound. This shifts the paradigm from viewing debt as inherently bad to understanding it as a strategic psychological tool. Consumer debt keeps the working class enslaved to their salaries, but strategic leverage accelerates generational wealth. Why would higher education intentionally conceal this massive distinction between destructive debt and strategic leverage? The answer introduces our third hidden mechanism, revealing the true economic incentive behind the modern university. The very institutions promising financial freedom are actually economically incentivized to produce efficient employees. They are designed to manufacture a highly predictable workforce for the wealthy, not to create wealthy individuals. Teaching behavioral finance would disrupt the delicate ecosystem that currently keeps the global economy functioning. The system requires a debt-burdened and high-consuming workforce to continuously drive corporate profits forward. If everyone understood how to accumulate assets and deploy leverage, the cheap labor supply would collapse entirely. This is the ultimate irony of the diploma you spent years acquiring at the cost of thousands of borrowed pounds. Your rigorous academic training was carefully curated to make you a highly functional cog in a machine you do not own. So how do you break out of this carefully engineered psychological trap and begin accumulating real financial power? You must implement the fourth hidden mechanism, a concept known by psychologists as the rigorous financial ego audit. The traditional education system conditions you to constantly signal your professional status to your peers and rivals. You feel an overwhelming psychological pressure to project the aesthetic of a successful and educated professional. This pressure manifests in financed luxury vehicles, designer clothing, and mortgages on oversized suburban properties. An ego audit requires you to track exactly how much monthly spending is purely designed to signal your social status. Every pound spent on maintaining this illusion is a direct tax on your ability to fund your initial wealth investments. Recognizing and cutting this psychological tax is the most mathematically efficient way to reclaim your captive capital. The academics who lost $4.6 billion failed because they believed complex mathematics could beat ego. They assumed their advanced theoretical models would protect them from the primal realities of fear and market greed. But when the global markets turned against their positions, they panicked exactly like any uneducated investor would. Their prestigious university pedigrees became completely worthless the moment their emotional discipline collapsed. This forces a brutal realization about the true nature of money that fundamentally alters how you view your own career. Wealth is not a mathematical equation to be solved on a chalkboard, but rather a psychological state to be mastered. The unwritten rules of capital allocation require a high degree of emotional regulation that classrooms cannot simulate. You have to unlearn the rigid obedience to authority that the educational system spent over a decade instilling in you. The wealthy do not ask for permission, they do not wait for good grades, and they certainly do not fear strategic debt. They understand that the global economy is a psychological battlefield disguised as a rational mathematical structure. Your diploma is essentially a receipt proving you successfully memorized the rules written by those who own the board. To actually win the game, you must step outside the classroom and study the mechanics of human behavioral economics. Every time you purchase a liability to impress people you dislike, you are funding the early retirement of a stranger. You are volunteering for extra shifts at work just to maintain an illusion that benefits the corporate banking sector. The moment you redirect that capital into appreciating assets, you begin the process of uncoupling from the matrix. You stop being a predictable consumer unit and start becoming a sovereign entity capable of dictating your own future. This change requires courage because it alienates you from peers who remain deeply trapped inside the academic system. If you are still watching, you understand more than most. Subscribe right now to continue your financial education. So let us definitively answer the question of what vital skills are systematically excluded from traditional education. Universities will never teach you how to master the volatile psychological forces that actually drive the market cycles. They will never teach you to escape the high earner syndrome by aggressively purchasing true appreciating assets. They will carefully hide the buy, borrow, and die mechanism that the ultra-wealthy use to avoid devastating taxation. They will never instruct you to perform a financial ego audit to ruthlessly eliminate your status signaling expenses. The academic system is flawlessly designed to mold you into an obedient, highly skilled, and heavily indebted worker. Your financial illiteracy is not an accidental failure of the curriculum, it is a foundational pillar of the economy. The final secret is that true wealth is simply the mathematical result of superior psychological discipline over time. You must stop accumulating basic academic credentials and start playing the infinite psychological game of leverage. True financial literacy is realizing that your degree taught you how to earn, but you must teach yourself how to own.